Jonathan, thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be in Dubai and in the United Arab Emirates. I first worked in Dubai more than 30 years ago. And with the vision of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and ruler of Dubai, I've seen Dubai grow and evolve into what we see today. Each time I return, Dubai has changed. I've witnessed the phenomenal growth in the aviation sector, with Emirates providing the blueprint for that growth in the aviation sector. I've seen the hotels, offices, and apartment blocks searching for the sky, and the malls, the golf courses, and the highway developments pushing back the desert. In its diversification away from oil dependency, Dubai is a very embodiment of a modern state with a clear expansion strategy based on travel and tourism at its heart. For the hotel industry, which we're discussing here, but is part of that wider, larger sector which we call travel and tourism. And as I'll explain shortly, travel and tourism is one of the world's most powerful generators of jobs and economic growth. But it's also an inspiring contributor to peace, security, and understanding, and a genuine force for good in the world. But don't just take my word for it.
I should like to rise and go, where in sunshine reaching out, eastern cities miles about, all its children, pauper and prince, grown to manhood ages since. I wander until upon I find my Eden, as we all have the right for travel freedom. And no more delay with hours of haggle. I am the world. I am travel.
If that is the human power of our sector, what of the economics? We generate nearly 10% of global GDP, $800 billion of investment, and over 6% of the world's exports. This year, the sector supported 284 million jobs, which equates to about 1 in 11 jobs on the planet. More than 1 billion people crossed international borders each year. They see friends, do business, take holidays. They live, work, and experience other cultures and other countries. And this sector grows at a faster rate than the overall level of global GDP. Within 10 years, will contribute around 11% of global GDP and 1 in 10 of all jobs. By 2035, over 2 billion people will cross international borders each year. Ladies and gentlemen, the sector that we represent is critical for economic growth. That's why governments should focus on us as they deal with a falling oil price, a struggling economy, or unemployment. Here in the UAE, travel and tourism contributes 8.7% of GDP and supports over 500,000 jobs, around 9% of total employment. It contributes over 27 billion dirhams in investment and 95 billion dirhams of foreign visitor exchange. Over the next decade, our research anticipates that our sector will grow in the UAE by around 5.4% every year until it reaches 11.2% of GDP by around 2026. And by this time, 850,000 jobs will be sustained in the sector in the UAE. It's part of the role of WTTC to make this growth a reality. For 25 years, we've been at the forefront of campaigning for the long-term sustainable growth of the sector, a sector which is a powerful custodian of the world's natural resources, a sector which prides itself on sustainable and quality jobs across all levels of society, right across the globe, and a sector which encourages financially sustainable companies producing high-quality financial returns. But particularly we use the strength of our members to tell the world about the huge economic and social benefits of the travel and tourism sector. Many of our members are here today. Thierry Antonori is here, Alex Karakidis is here, Gerald Lawless, the new chairman of WTTC, is also here on the next panel. From airports to airlines, car hire to cruise lines, hotels to tour operators, travel agencies to technology suppliers, WTTC members represent the sector in every part of the world. When we speak with the authority bestowed upon us by 140 of the most influential people in our sector. We advocate on behalf of the private sector by voicing our collective needs to government. Together with Talib Rifai of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, who represents 165 governments, we have met with 82 heads of state in the last 4 years. We have had very direct conversations at the highest levels about the key issues that face the sector in their country, to encourage them, where necessary, to address the barriers that are holding back this growth and development. And addressing the global challenge for a sector as powerful as ours is far too big for any one company or one organization to achieve on its own. We are far stronger when we act together and speak with one voice. WTTC and UNWTO created the Global Travel Association Coalition to amplify our messages even further. Together with IATA, ICAO, and ACI from the aviation industry, CLEAR representing cruise, PATA speaking for the fastest growing region in the world, and the World Economic Forum. GTAC allows global travel and tourism associations to be the focus of the advocacy and messages on 4 key areas: travel facilitation and security, infrastructure development, environmental sustainability, and investment in people. And when we survey the wider political and economic landscape, we see 3 mega themes which will continue to dominate the sector globally and regionally for some years to come. The first is policies for growth. We need to work with governments to ensure that their policies create business environments which are conducive to the growth of the sector. This means creating intelligent tax regimes which allow the private sector to be competitive. This means planning and building infrastructure that will be capable of absorbing this incredible growth over the next 25, 30 years. And in this regard, the UAE is a model for others to replicate. And this means recruiting and training the right people with the right skills to meet the future demand. Tourism for tomorrow. Our sector has a huge responsibility for safeguarding the environment and ensuring that the growth of our sector is managed responsibly and sustainably. Globally, we're growing by over 4% a year, which means that by 2035, the number of international travelers will have doubled to 2 billion, while billions more are traveling domestically in places like China. This growth in travel and tourism will bring about enormous social and economic development across the world. But we have a serious responsibility to decouple the growth of the sector from its impact on our environment, to ensure that tourism continues to contribute to the socio-economic inclusiveness and development in the long term. And the third one is freedom to travel. And this campaign calls for improved visa processes in order to allow tourists to cross international borders as efficiently as possible, while still respecting the rights of sovereign states to protect their borders. Still, too many countries require a paper visa for people to enter the country. 63% of international travelers still need to fill in a paper form, still need to queue at a consular office to get a stamp in their passport. Tony Tyler said, "Every time I hear a visa requirement has been withdrawn, it makes me wonder why it was there in the first place." Yet despite the progress we've secured in the last few years, it is this very freedom which is most under threat at this time for our sector. The last few months have seen an unprecedented number of terrorist attacks, mainly deliberately aimed at tourists, which brings back the understandable call to make our borders stronger, even to close the doors, even to build walls. Governments are looking at health to help solve this problem. To just give one example, at the WTTC summit held earlier this month in Dallas, Penny Pritzker, the US Secretary of State for Commerce, put it very bluntly. She said, "We need your help, the private sector." And that comment reflected the tension within the US government. It's a tension which governments around the world are all having to confront, between the economic importance of travel and tourism and the desire to impose border controls. We have made such incredible progress in the past few years, working with governments to open their borders for those that really wish to travel. And we cannot go backward from that position. In fact, I believe the greatest challenge that we face is an overreaction from governments who wish to close the borders and to build walls, to start saying no, not yes, to those who wish to visit their country. We have to help governments to lead the debate, to be part of the solution. This is a global problem with a global solution, which will involve a much greater level of data sharing, technological advancements in the form of biometrics. It will require unprecedented international cooperation. The message is clear, though. It's up to us to lead the debate, to be part of the solution. And I'd like to end with a brief reflection on the impact of the oil price volatility. Generally, as we've heard earlier, low oil prices will have a positive effect on travel and tourism, as a drop in prices of crude oil gradually filters down to consumers. Disposable incomes rise as motoring transport costs and airline ticket prices start to fall. However, on the producer side, in oil exporting countries, business investment, government spending, and employment in the extraction sector are beginning to contract, which has led to this volatility in the markets and weaker economic performance. This could have a significant effect on the travel and tourism economies in these countries, many of which are represented here today. But our investment demonstrates that rather than switching off investment into travel and tourism as oil revenues fall, countries dependent on oil income would benefit greatly from investing in travel and tourism to further diversify their economies and to develop additional income streams. The success of this strategy has been demonstrated in the UAE over the past 3 decades, but it's now becoming an important opportunity elsewhere in the region. Ladies and gentlemen, our sector is one that's growing at a higher rate than world GDP. That is creating jobs, that is committed to the stewardship of the world's natural resources. At a time of uncertainty in the price of oil, we also believe that our sector will provide certainty and diversity. But it's critical that public and private sectors work together, continue to drive growth through investing in transportation infrastructure, funding new hotels, new tourism attractions, increasing destination marketing, and continuing to improve electronic visa processes. I'll finish where I started. In a 2-day discussion about finance and investment, about returns and profitability, it's worth taking a minute or two to dream a little and remember what we as an industry bring to the world. At our summit in Dallas, Barry Diller, who bought Expedia out of the skunk works of Microsoft, said, "No travel, no life." And I think this is what he meant, that we all have the right to freedom to travel.
I should like to rise and go where the golden apples grow, where below another sky Parrot Islands anchored lie, where in sunshine reaching out eastern cities miles about are with mosque and minaret among sandy gardens set, and rich goods from near and far hang for sale in the bazaar, where the Great Wall round China goes, and on one side the desert blows, and with voice and bell and drum cities on the other hum. Where among the desert sands some deserted city stands, all its children, pauper and prince, grown to manhood ages since. Not a foot in street or house, not a stir of child or mouse. And when kindly falls the night, in all the town no spark of light. I wander until upon I find my Eden, as we all have the right for travel freedom. And no more delay with hours of haggle